Good Monday morning! I am MPJ and you are watching FunFunFunction. Last Monday we started coding an editor together and you people really liked that, so we're turning that into a series of Let's Code an Editor. So this is part 2. You can find a link to last week's video up there or down in the description. There were a lot of comments on last week's video. One comment that I found really interesting was people were commenting that even though I was writing unit tests in the episode, I was not strictly doing test first. We had some good discussion on that in the comment, but I still wanna... So today we're going to do extreme test first, which is basically just, you know, test first, but extreme. Makes for a lot more clickbaity title. On a completely different note, Christmas is starting up. Today is Advent Sunday because, you know, I'm recording these on Sunday so that you can get them on Monday morning. And on Advent Sundays, at least in Sweden, you light a candle, which I'm going to do now. Fuck! Ah! Do it! Doesn't work. Cozy. So let's do a recap of what we did last week.
Let me do npm start here. Blah 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 blah. Starting. Started. Okay, and I drag this in here. So let me go to the namespaces. Okay, so we're building a fiddle, right? So I can do evaluations here, and I can also, there is this thing where we built last time, where we could delete the selected segment to say, oh, that's gone. So yeah, you see that? Watch it again because, oh, sorry, help. Okay, escape. And this one here is now selected, and I can do, select, delete selected segment, and delete it, and it's gone. We did that last time. That was fun.
I'm going to close that for now because we are not going to spend much time in the browser at all this time. We are going to do a bunch of refactoring. Or refactoring, we are actually going to rewrite a little part of the application that has gotten a bit stale, and we are going to do that in a disciplined test-first fashion. Extreme test first! Okay, let me give you some context to what we're gonna do. Last week we did this, we added a command, to the commands, which is called delete segment. These reply and send commands here, they are part of an event bus that I wrote. And then you ask, what is an event bus and why do you have that? Why is this delete segment simply not a function that other parts of the code calls? The reason a lot of code runs through this message bus in this application is for testability. It does have a side benefit of creating more uniform interfaces between pieces of code, but to be honest, it is there for testability. I'm going to make some drawings in an attempt to give you a general idea of what the message bus does. In last week's video, we wrote a little bit of code that we call delete segment, and it deletes a segment. But how does it do that? Well, it needs to call firebase, which is, if you don't know what firebase is, it's just a database, really. So delete segment is going to do some interaction with firebase. It's going to call firebase, it's going to get a new segment ID, and then it's going to add that segment ID to the playbook. It's not important exactly what it does. It's important to recognize that there is some back and forth going between Firebase, this external dependency that delete segment has. So you see that with delete segment, the whole input-output situation, what we test is quite intricate because it's not only the ID that we are passing in as an argument to the delete segment call, so to speak. It's also this interaction here, this stuff here that it does behind the scenes, so to speak, like its dealings with Firebase. So we need to test this interaction, we need to test this interaction, we need to test this interaction, and in reality it actually goes back and forth a little bit more than this. But in the end, we need a way to test this. How do we do that? If delete segment just calls the Firebase API directly, it becomes very hard to write a unit test for it. Because our unit test is only looking at this from the outside, so it doesn't have any way of intercepting or observing these calls or faking these return values, because it does just see the delete segment and has no idea what it does on the inside. It has no access to Firebase or any ability to create a fake Firebase. So there are a couple of ways of dealing with this. I'm going to talk about 3, and it's the third one that we use. The first one is to use very clever global mocking techniques to fake Firebase. You just somehow use techniques to replace the global Firebase with your own fake Firebase. The testing framework that React uses actually has support for this. It can fake the require and intercept the imports and just inject a fake Firebase, a mock Firebase, when the code requires it while you're running the unit tests. Global mocking works, and it has the advantage of these calls being very close to real calls, and you don't have to restructure your application. But in practice, I've tried this so many times that every time it ends up being very laborious and brittle. It's very magic, and it's not clear what is happening, how the framework gets Firebase in there. It's a bit magic voodoo to me. It's also a bit fiddly from the unit testing standpoint, because you want each test to be contained, but here you are in your setup messing with the global state, so if you forget to tear it down incorrectly, it will affect other tests in your suite. And if you do that subtly, it will be bugs that are really, really hard to hunt down. For instance, you realize that you have a test that is failing for some reason, and it's only failing when you turn on the entire test suite. It doesn't fail when you run just that test. So you have to hunt down which of the other possibly thousands of tests that is polluting the global state of your test. So I'm not a big fan of global mocking. The second alternative solution to this problem is using injection. When you do injection, in addition to your normal arguments like ID and the delete segment case, you also pass in a reference to Firebase. And then inside, delete segment does its calls on Firebase and does its business. And when you create unit tests for delete segment, you create a mock Firebase and you pass it in. And your mock Firebase will return fake data when it's called, and you can also inspect the Firebase reference, your mock Firebase, after the test has run to see that delete segment called what it was supposed to, that it inserted the correct database rows and whatnot. Injection works. It's easy to follow, it's robust, it doesn't fail in magical ways, it's just you passing in things. There are a lot of crazy dependency injection frameworks, especially in Java and .NET, and Angular one also does this bullshit. But that's not what we're talking about here. We are just talking about the concept of injecting things into things, not inventing nuclear power plants to do it. This is just passing things in. And that, in my opinion, works very well. The disadvantage is that this code that is written in an injection style is often looks pretty laborious. Like, you have to set up these factories that inject the real Firebase when you use a real thing. Not all people like the injection model. They prefer the global model because while the global model is more brittle, this model requires you to do quite a bit of restructuring of your app to follow an injection pattern. Also, code with a lot of levels and a lot of dependencies can become very laborious, because let's imagine that delete segment was a bit down in the hierarchy and it had like 4 or 5 more dependencies than Firebase. Then at the top of the hierarchy, you have to pass down every dependency that is ever required by anything anything under you, and that can be quite laborious. And that is also why these dependency injection frameworks are born, so that you can just pass one injection. It's straightforward, but not without its disadvantages. So, in this project, I am experimenting with a third model, which I will refer to as messaging. In the messaging model, we have a message. Damn it! A message bus in between. So the lead segment would send like a firebase get message to the bus, and firebase would listen to these messages and respond to them, and it will send the response to the bus, and the bus will then pass it on to the delete segment. Now, this is good because it allows us to very easily intercept these messages. We just, in the real application, we just don't need to attach these handlers. Instead, we attach listeners to these messages. So there's really no complicated mocking going on. There's real messages going back and forth. It's just something else listening to them. Also, because these are messages, they're just objects, simple JavaScript objects sent on string topics. It allows us to very easily log and inspect that log, as opposed to mocking actual dependencies, which doesn't really have any kind of logging involved. So this is a lot easier to deal with from a unit testing standpoint. We still have to use some injection. We need to get the bus into the delete segment somehow. So we use injection for one thing, and that is the bus, and it goes into the delete segment. We also have to restructure our app to interface with the bus and send bus messages. So that is a sacrifice that we do with this model, but I think it's worth it. Also, it has an extra benefit over the injection model, and that is the fact that while we are designing these messages, we can make them simpler and flatter and better adapted for our app than the mock calls would be. So that in this listening phase here, we can actually make the command a bit simpler and make this interface that the delete segment has against Firebase, make that a little bit easier. And I know this is very abstract, especially if you haven't done unit testing before, but don't worry, it's going to be a lot more concrete after you've watched this episode, because today we are going to rewrite the bus parts of the app. So we are actually going to test TDD, the implementation of the part of our application that makes the rest of the application testable. It's very meta. We are probably not going to make a full implementation of the new bus because we will run out of time, but we should get a good start, I think. The purpose of this video is to show the benefit of TDD and test first, and also give you an idea of how the bus works, because we are going to see a lot of the bus in this project, and it's good if you know what the hell it is about. The old bus is actually not unit tested itself. It is involved in every single unit test in the application, so in that sense it is tested, but this is a problem you often run into in applications where you have this component that you wrote as a side effect, like it is under test in components, but you kind of want it to be under test as well, because, well, when you want to fix a specific bug in that part of the code, it's nice to be able to test those things in isolation. And also when the thing starts turning pretty generic and you want to use it in other parts of the code, then you really need it to be under test so that you, well, know how it works and not just having it tested as a side effect of other components. So we are going to write a completely new bus using TDD. So we're going to create a test. This is the way test first works. You create the test first before you even have the file of what it is you're testing. You only write code if you have a test that requires that code to exist. Let me show you how that works. So we are going to call this bus bussig.test JS. Bussig is a Swedish wordplay on bus. Bussig means sort of decent or nice. Han är bussig, that's a good guy. It's not the best name maybe, but I have picked it. Let me close this and let me close the sidebar and let me do npm test here. Run the tests. Okay, it's failing because there is no test in test suite. Let's write one. Describe bussig. And that Mocha wants just was a function. Still broken because it wants a test. This is just a test case. Passes. Boom. Yes. Cool, we have a passing test, but it's not really asserting anything. Okay, so what are we doing here? One of the benefits of TDD is that it kind of forces you to really think about what it is that you're doing. It requires you to formulate your intent before you start writing code. Gives you kind of like a direction when you're coding, and that is very nice in many ways if you know what the direction is, and we do in this case if you just put our mind to it. It handles a message, and here it allows us to think about API first when we're designing things. That is one of the benefits of TDD. It drives API design very firmly, because that is the very first thing that you think about. The API never becomes a consequence of your code. The API is what you think about first. So let's say that we have a bus, make that up, and the bus should handle a message on a topic, which we're gonna call some topic, and when it receives something on that topic, it should call this function. Now, should call this, and I know that I also want some filtering on the bus. We're just gonna give it an empty object for now, and I also know that I want to have it look like this. Bus.send, if we send something on some topic, and we send a message that is just some message, some value. No, some property, not some value. Let's go with that. And that's gonna be, let's call it a string. Okay, fine, but what is it that we actually want to expect? We want this function here. Okay, so this is going to be a callback function. Or we're gonna call it handler function. Handler func. And we expect the handler func to be called with. This is, by the way, these function mocking tools and expectations, these are built into Jest that is bundled with Create React app. I think it's very nice. And it's going to be called with this value here. You know what? I'm going to extract this out into a variable, and I'm going to call it some message. And I'm going to send that to the bus. Send message. No, sorry, some message. And I expect the handler func to be called with some message. Cool. As you see here, handler func is red, and that is because it's not defined. So we need to create a mock function here. One that we can do these expect handler func to be called with some message. You can only do this if it's a mock jest function, and you do that by doing jest.fn, So those are no longer red. We're making some progress, but you know, like we still have this big ass error here. Bus is not defined. It doesn't exist. Let's do that. How do we want that interface to look? We want const bus. I think I just want a function that does create bus. That seems nice to me. Okay, let's import that non-existing function. Import. Create bus from busig. Cool. Cannot find module busig from busig test.js. Oh, okay, nice. So you see here that one of the advantages of TDD is that if you do it right, it constantly gives you like an error that suggests your next move. So it cannot find a module busig from busig test.js. Yeah, it's because it doesn't exist. So let's create it. New file, busig.js. Now it exists. Let me close the sidebar again and see what happens. So it's a type error. Busig blah blah blah. It's not a function. Yeah, because it's empty. So let's export a function then. Function. Can I do that? No, I think I need to name it, right? Create bus then. Does that help? Hang on. No, it's not a function. Oh, it's because I'm exporting it named. I should export it as the default. Bonk. Cool. Okay, we get another error. All right, so cannot read property handle of undefined. Well, yeah, because, okay, it's because handle here, bus, is undefined, and that is, of course, because create bus doesn't really return anything. So let's make it return something. Let's, you know, we might be able to split these. Split editor. Oh, no, it's, no. Can I split it the other way somehow? Ah, no. Let's just not do that. It's going to return something that has handle. And I think that we can also, like, it needs to return a handle function. Okay, then type error bus.send is not a function. Okay, let's give it a send function. Send. Okay, cool. All right, expected mock function to be called with some property, some value, but it was not called. Let's go back to the test. Yeah, because we need the actual logic that passes a message. So handle. So handle, let's go back to the test. Handle takes a topic. It takes this filter thing, which we're going to disregard for now. It's a future functionality. You know what? That's speculative. Let's remove it. It takes a topic and a handler function. That's what handle does. So let's implement that. Takes a topic and a handler function. The body, we need to set up a map for the handlers here. Handlers, and we are going to pass the handlers and assign topic to assign the handler func to that topic. And okay, I think we're halfway there. We need to go to this test and see, okay, send takes a topic and some message. So let's do that. Let's it takes a topic and a message, and it's going to grab the handler on that topic and call it with the message. Ah, wrong. I got it. But it was called with function message event. No, it wants to be called with the message. So let's call it with the message. And we're green! Our first TDD code is now tested. When your test suite is green, that is a very, very good point to commit your work into Git, because, you know, if you mess something up, you can always revert to the last point where everything was working to some semblance. So let me do git status modified commander.test.js. We don't want that. Git rm src commander or test.js. We don't care about that. Local modification. No, wait. This is not how you remove changes. I don't want to remove the file. I just want to remove the change. Use git checkout dash file to discard changes. Okay, cool. Git checkout dash src commander.test.js. Boom. Git status. Okay, cool. Git git src. Oh, sorry. Git add src busig.js and src busig test.js. Boom. And we go git commit. And I'm going to call that work in progress create bus. So we're not gonna push this until we have more of an implementation, but we're just gonna keep committing at every stage. When you're doing TDD by the book, as we're doing it here, you do like this red-green-refactor cycle. So we first created a test that was red because it was broken, and then we fixed the test by writing some code, making it green. And after red-green, you do refactor, which is like tidy things up a little, which you can now do safely because you have tests that verifies that your code behaves as it should. Let's refactor the test first, because like this value here, this is completely unnecessary, really. All that we really are verifying is that the thing that we pass in here is passed to the handler function, right? See? So we can just simplify this to be a placeholder object like that, and it still works. In the same way, we have a string here. I think that this makes sense to have as a variable. I'm going to call this const.someTopic, and I'm going to just call it someTopic for simplicity, and then I'm going to refer to that as a variable. This is something that I have started doing lately. I'm not sure if it's even a good idea, if it gives any benefit, because it gives us, like if I do a typo, the JavaScript interpreter in the editor is able to catch that. But then again, if I did that same typo, the tests would catch it. So maybe not all that useful, really. We'll try to, maybe we'll revisit it later. Maybe it's a good idea for other scenarios, but it's actually not needed at this point, so let's just not do it. Let's go to the file. This is actually pretty clean at the moment. There's not much refactoring that we can do yet, so let's keep it there for now. And let's amend the commit. Git commit amend. And I'm going to, yeah, we'll just, I'm just gonna keep this commit message saved. Was that committed? Git status? No, it wasn't. I think that my edit, like, I've tried to set up Visual Studio Code to edit the commit messages, but it's not quite working, unfortunately, so...
We are just gonna do commit m and no, git commit amend, because this just adds it to the whip commit. No, hang on. Git commit m. Let me do that. How do I just use the previous message? Hang on. Git amend previous commit on the blah 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 blah. Ah, shit. Let's just fix so that I actually get the Visual Studio Code commit to work, because I really would like that. Like, VS Code Git message editor. Okay, let's try that. Git commit command. Nope, still doesn't wait for it. Okay, I need to change the diff tool in the config. Config user settings. Ow, too much. Diff edit. What is even happening? Stop it. Close. No, it's the diff config. Okay, it's a. Oh, I'm supposed to do it in the git config. Okay. Where is that? Git config. Okay, I do have another diff tool in place. I don't really want to replace that. Okay, diff tool. But it might be okay that it's not the default, perhaps. Let's say default diff tool. Can I just remind my VS Code? Name that. You should shut up, Flow. Like, I'm really annoyed with this Flow extension. Like, it's getting in the way all the time. VS Code. Okay, diff tool. I'm changing this to VS Code, perhaps. Okay, let's see. Does this work then? Git commit amend. No, still doesn't work.
Okay, right. So this is an example of where you can really get caught up in tooling, because you need to like weld them together and make them work together just right, and it's very rarely just straightforward. I was hoping that this would work, but it doesn't. So, you know, I'm going to just do remove this from my bash profile.
Vim, okay, bash profile. And I'm going to delete the git editor here, off, out you go. And I'm just gonna run git commit amend. No, it still creates. I have to restart the terminal. Git commit amend.
What? Now it actually starts Visual Studio Code. Oh, now it seems to work. Oh, it was my previous override that didn't make it work. Okay. Fair enough, now it works. I'm saving it, and closing Visual Studio, and now it is updated. Git status. Okay, cool. No, it's still modified. Shit. Git diff. Oh! It's because I never added the change, actually. Oh, there's some trailing white space here. Let me remove that. Trailing white space. Git diff. No? What? What is it? Oh, I trailed to remove the wrong space. Bluff! Bluff! Okay, let me... There. Git diff. Oh, there it's gone. Git add... Pusig. What? Git status. Git add src pusig.test.js. And now I can commit amend. There, off, come on. Yeah, cool, then I'm still satisfied with that commit message, closing. And yeah, but it closed all my editors, hang on. I'm not doing well today. Okay, we're back. Okay, so let's talk about adding a filter to this thing. I want to, it filters on filters messages. And we want some. Let's first create a bus, const bus equals create bus. And and we. So let me write it from the bottom. So given that we send some topic and that we pass some message, blah 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 blah. Okay, some message is not available here, but you know what? We might actually just reuse this constant here, and I'm gonna set it here because it's so that it's shared between all Busig tests, And given that it sends that, and we handle the sum topic. I was about to say that I could use the variables that I discarded before because they would give me autocomplete, but frankly Visual Studio gives me autocompletes for strings as well, so it still does not make sense to use them. Okay, given that it has some value, can I get rid of these? They are, like, I'm so annoyed that they obscure what I'm trying to type. I'm just gonna, is that the flow extension? I'm gonna try to flow, VS Code flow, yeah, I'm gonna just disable it. There, oh, that's so much nicer. Let's say that if we have some property that is hello, and okay, I was prematurely removing duplication. We don't really need the sum message because we want to actually change this. So this is some property, but we are sending with another value. We're sending like it's going to be waffles, and we are going to. We also need a handler function here, so it's handler func. Just dot fun. Can't type. Const handler func, and it takes the handler func. Blop. And perhaps for clarity here, just to make the test a bit more like documentation, we can call this filter pattern and break this out to this variable here. Because tests is often, well-written tests is very nice to encounter when you arrive in a new code base, because they will give you an idea how to use code. It's not as good as real documentation that is well-written, but it's a hell of a lot better than no documentation, and it can also complement real documentation by being extremely exact on how the code actually behaves. But either way, let's start the tests again and see this failing. Cool, handlers topic is not a function. Let's go into this and see. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is because our handle function here does not expect a second argument to be the handler function, but in our new API world here, we are going to have a problem with that because our second argument here is the filter pattern. Now, I could do some fancy shit here where it detected how many arguments it has and kind of overloaded handle, making these arguments dynamic and something like that. But I would like to prefer a simpler, more consistent API. So I'm going to change handle to always have filter pattern. And that means that we cannot simply just pass the handler function to the topics map of the handlers. So it's going to be it's going to have a handler function, and it's also going to have a pattern. I'm going to call it. It's going to be an object that has a filter pattern and a handler func. Also, like, now they are not handlers, perhaps handler. I'm going to we'll thinking about a name for handlers. We'll do that later during the refactoring phase when we have it working. Let's not get stuck on details. Let's get it to work and then refactor. So handlers.topic is not a oh, now both tests are failed. What is happening? Yeah. Now both tests are failing just because of that. Let's run only this test to keep us focused on just one thing. So handlers.topic is not a function. That is still our problem. Yeah, sure, because it is not a function. What we want to do is grab the handler func and call that with the message. And that is now green. Okay, let's remove the only to see if the rest of our test suite works. No, it doesn't. It says, oh, handler's topic, handler func is not a function. Yep, that is because our old, this test here is using our old API. So I'm going to pass an empty filter there, and blah 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 blah. It's going to pass. Yeah, but this test here, it's not actually testing anything yet. It's just handling and sending something. This is passing because it doesn't fail. So what we want to do is we want to make an expectation. Expect handler func not to be called with. Okay, message. Hang on. Actual message. And I'm going to extract this out into a variable called actual message. And just send the actual message. All right, cool. Now the test fails. So now we are now in our red phase. The test is exactly what describes exactly what we want. When we send a message here, an actual message, that does not match the filter pattern that the handler has, it should not be passed to the handler. And we really want this functionality because in many cases we will find ourselves that we're doing multiple gets, for instance, like to firebase. The get command might be passed, like we get some orders and some customers, and depending on what ID we are passing in to this property, we want different results. So this functionality is very important. So let's go back to the test, and so here we need to do some kind of filtering. So we're gonna get the handler, and we are going to check that handler, the filter pattern of that handler matches the message before we call the handler function. So let's say if matches message and handler dot filter pattern, then we should call handler.handlerfunc with message. Now, our matches function here, that was just something I made up, something that I want to exist. I think that Lodash has something like
this. Lodash. Where's the documentation here? Matches. Match.
Cool, we have that. I already have Lodash in this project, so I'm gonna do import Lodash from Lodash, and we are going to do Lodash. dot matches, and hang on, it's the equivalent. So object dot source matches. Yeah, I think that this is the right order. The object that we're matching against first, and then the filter pattern as a second argument. I think that's right. Let's see. Okay, let's run that. No. Okay, that didn't work. Perhaps if... No. What? No, I'm... Sorry, I'm being confused. Is match. That's what we want. Does that work? Does that work? Come on. Yes! Yes, it does exactly what we want. Okay, I want to do some refactoring here. Because... these handlers is a bad name because it's not the handler per se, it's more like handler metadatas. I'm gonna call it that. That is a much more specific name, and I'm going to call those handler metadata or metadata. Yep, like that. Handlers per se, it's not a wrong name, but it lacks the specificity I want in the code. So this is more on point. Let's commit that. Git add. Oh, hang on. I think I can do this. Git commit p. Yes, cool. So this allows me to walk through the commits, and it asks me if I want to commit this part. Stage this hunk. I think all of that looks what I want, so yes. Okay, this looks... no, I don't want to stage that hunk because it has some trailing white space. Hang on. Let me. Wow! Okay. Now it put up a commit message. This confuses me. Yeah, because it won't commit. No, you're not allowed to commit it. I'm aborting due to commit. Hang on. Yeah, I closed it. Let's do that again. Okay. It was a test that had some trailing white space. So let me deal with that. Trim trailing white space. Save. And we do this again. Do git commit p. Yes, this looks good. And yes, you know what? Let me quit. No, I don't want to. No! I'm so bad at this. Let me, because I want to amend. I want to amend to the existing commit. Yes, I want to stage this, and I want to stage this too, because here we see the change to our, like where we change the API, and here's the new test. This looks good, cool. And now it opens up editor, and yes, this message still looks good to me. I'm gonna save and quit that, and it's committed. Git status, it should be clean. Yes, nothing to commit. Whew! We're going to write one more test today, but before we do, I'm going to make a little Christmas break. Right, it's Advent Sunday, so we're doing Christmassy things. This is a very Swedish thing, I think. It's mulled wine, and it's just red wine with a lot of sugar in it, basically, and some mulled wine spices. Mulled. Anyway, you prepare it, you drink it warm. I've heated it up, and you pour raisins in it. And also you have these almond flakes. You put almonds in. And Enjoy it. This is this is de-alcoholized, so you need to add alcohol. Great mess. Anyway, recently I've been using the questions and answers app Whale a lot. Unfortunately, it's new, which means it's not available for Android yet, so I thought I'd bring some highlights to you all Android people. I really like this question by Super Haraboy. Imposter syndrome. How do you overcome it? Do you double down on one subject, or do you spread yourselves out to other subjects? Okay, so the way I answered this is that you can't work yourself out of imposter syndrome. Because the more you work, the more imposter syndrome you are going to feel. Because the more you work, the better you become at something, and the more likely you are to get new jobs, get promoted, get new assignments, which will make you work with people that are even better. Like successively, your colleagues will become better because you become better and you get to work with awesome people. But this will only exacerbate your feeling of, oh my god, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm a fraud, I'm a fake, all these people around me, they are real. So you just have to... What has helped me is to just let go of the feeling or the preconceived notion that I have to be best or better than everybody else. Just let that go. It's not all that important. The important thing is that you're doing valuable work and you're helping people, and that you are constantly improving. How you're doing relatively to people, that is very secondary to those things. It also helps to realize that everybody feels imposter syndrome, especially the people around you that are very successful. That's what I answered to that question on Whale. If you're an Android user, sorry that you can't use it yet. It's really great. I hope they release an Android version soon. And if you're an iOS user, you should check it out. Let's get back to coding. Alright, so the next thing that I want to add support for is having multiple handlers. So if we have multiple handlers on the same topic but with different filters, the bus should direct the message to the handler that is matching. So let's do that. It filters messages, multiple handlers. Yeah, cool. We create a bus, const bus, create bus, const handler func. You know what? I'm gonna do this inversely. I'm gonna start from the bottom. I'm gonna do expect handler func or first handler func. Not to be called, and I'm going to expect second handler func to be called. Func. It's funny, like before, now you saw that I had autocomplete here, before when I had flow turned on, and this is one of the situations where I think flow is actually nice. It's when you have this, when you're working against an external API that you are using like a lot in your app, such as Jest. I'm actually considering adding flow to the bus bindings in the future, but for code that is not used all over the place, such as just random helper functions in your code base, then the hassle of having flow in place, just it's not a good trade-off. But for this particular case, it is nice. But I still won't bother turning flow on again because I can't be bothered. To be called with second message. And let's say that we have bus.handle some topic. Handler func. Handle, and I'm gonna call this first handler func. And then I'm going to do bus handle second handler func. Oh, sorry, some topic. We should have some kind of filter on these. Let's create a bus.send. It's gonna send on some topic, and it's going to send a message called type cat, and we want the first handler function not to be called, so I'm going to put a filter on this one, type dog, so that it won't be triggered. You can still keep that on one line, really. And this one is going to match, so it's going to be type cat. What to do now? I'm a bit stuck. Yes. Brain freeze, brain mine. Let's just run the test and see what happens. First handler func is not defined. Yeah, okay, I could just have looked at the red squiggly lines to see what my next step was. Const handler first handler func equals, that's a fake function, just a func. And const second handler func equals just fn. Second message is not defined. Let's just call it, I'm gonna break this out and call it some message. And I'm going to give it to a variable. Cool. And second message is still not defined. I'm going to pass this here. Some message. It succeeds. That's not what I wanted. I think it just does this by happenstance, because it's the second bus handle here will just overwrite the last handler. So I need to make this test break. And this is actually a good demonstration of why TDD is a good idea, like writing the test first, because I actually happen to write the test wrong here. So it doesn't really verify what I wanted it to be. So that is why it's really good to always make sure that your test fails first. So I'm gonna switch these around. That's a simple way of enforcing the error, I think. See? Yes. Cool. Expected mock function to have been called with type cat, but it was not called. Let's go to the code and fix this. So I now want to change this to be arrays. So I'm going to assign that to either be the existing value, or if it is undefined, I'm going to create a new array and assign it. And then I'm going to take that array, because that's going to be an array now, and I'm going to push this new handler metadata on it. Bonk. That's going to fail because now this is going to be this send function is going to be very confused because it expects this to be a handler metadata, not an array of handler metadata. We're going to fix that. We are going to just do .find on this one, because it's now an array. And we are going to move this isMatch to I'm going to move it in here. I'm going to paste it in here, and I am going to place this here so that it does that, and then I'm gonna fix that indentation there. Right? Boo! It still doesn't work. Wait a minute. Yes, I think it actually does work. It's the other test that is failing. It's this one. It filters messages. Why does that fail? Cannot read handler func of undefined. Okay, so let's run just this one so that we get rid of all other distractions. Let's go into the code. Cannot read handler func of undefined. Sure, so this is ending up undefined. Okay, we have to debug, I guess. Let's see. I am going to, at the point of send, I'm going to just log out what the handler metadata are. See what we end up with. Okay, it's some topic and it has a filter pattern. Yeah, it's there. Let me log the entire thing out. JSON.stringify. Now 2. Stringify. Stringify. I have to rerun it. Okay. So, okay. The filter pattern is some property. Hello. And it is doing exactly the right thing. It's just like this test makes sure that this function is not called, which is exactly what we want, but the code handler here, like it's not anticipating the case where there is no handler for this topic. Now, there is a handler, but it's not matching. So what we want to do, what we want to do here is that this should throw an error, and that error should be a friendly error message. So it's going to be catch E, and we're going to expect, I'm going to call it error. Error.message and to be handler not found. Cool. Now it's failing because it's it expects handler not found, but it gets this ugly error message. Let's fix that. If not handler metadata, throw new error. Handler not found. This should be green. It's green! Now this error is not very helpful. We can make it a lot more helpful, and we will later, where it gives you the topic that it tried to send a message on and the message that it tried to send, and it can also list the available handlers and their pattern matching signatures so that you can see, oh, okay, I missed this parameter or something like this. But that is a bit out of the scope of this video, I think. It's getting long as it is. Let's go back to the tests. It's green, so let's commit. Get commit dash p dash amend. There is some trailing white space, so I'm going to quit. Now, wish I could just quit. Did it still add them? No, I still haven't added them, so it will not do anything. let me remove the trailing white space, trim trailing white space, go to the other file, trim trailing white space. And we do that dance again. Do you want to stage this hunk? Yes, I think this looks good. No, hang on. I'm gonna go outside. I think that I want to have this on one line. That looks a bit better. Let's do that again. Okay. Trailing white space. I don't know. I think I might want to remove that warning. I don't think trailing white space is that big of a deal. And this looks good. Stage this hunk. Yes. Oh, look at that. I was about to commit a dot only. No. I don't want to stage that hunk. Let's go back. Let's remove that only. Let's, by the way, run tests again, and that we know that all tests weren't running. They are still running. Good. Let's do the commit again. Yes, I still want to stage that hunk. And yes, I want to stage this hunk as well. Cool. And no, let's stop calling it a work in progress. Create bus. Hang on. Busig. Create bus initial implementation. Cool. Save that. Close that. And git push. Red-Green-Refactor, and I think that we didn't really do refactor on the test. I think that we have some duplication here that I think is reasonable to remove. I try to not be too aggressive with removing duplication. I try to at least see 3 or more instances of duplication before I start removing it, because general cases are almost never as general as they initially seem, but this seems reasonable. So let's do a before each. And we're going to move the bus up to like the scope of the test, bus variable. Call that bus, and we are going to move this up here, and before each we're going to create the bus. Now we can remove this, we can remove this, and we can remove this. Cool, let's keep the test running. Better. As you see, we have some duplication here, but I think that we're only seeing 2 instances of it. You see that already in this case here, we see that, we broke the mold in the 3rd test. In this one, it was the same every test, but the handler func is only duplicated here, and the pattern starts breaking itself here. So I think that we should wait a bit for more duplication to let the pattern emerge before we generalize that and remove that duplication. That's a really good trick in my experience. Cool, let's commit that to git commit p. Stage this hunk. Yes. And I'm gonna just save that, close that, and now since we amended the commit, we have to do a force push. Don't do this in a shared repository. Only do it if you are absolutely sure that nobody else is working on the repository, because you're rewriting the history and that will mess things up totally if somebody has checked that thing out and expects that not to... It's gonna be a mess. And that's it for today. We did a little bit of extreme testing. And what we did was that we started creating a bus that we can use to intercept calls between our components to make testing the rest of the app a lot easier. If you had any thoughts or questions while watching the video, please add them in the comment field down below, and I shall try to address them and even use them as a basis for the next episode. Like the excellent TDD question from last week's episode. You have just watched an episode of FunFunFunction. I release these every Monday morning, 0800 GMT. You might also want to check out this playlist where I muse about working in a team, architecture and stuff like that. Or this playlist where I teach functional programming. I am MPJ. Until next Monday morning, stay curious.